This week on Supercars Talk, it's a case of last man standing as the slowest Mustang beats out those big motor Chevs to take out Australia's biggest prize. Kicking it off, what an exciting race. Someone will find something to complain about, but my God, that makes up for the last 2 years, I'm sure. And I'm not saying last year was a bad race. I liked it for what it was. But yeah, there was a lot of excitement yesterday. And it also helped six-time Garth Tander. Yeah, not too bad Matt Payne as well. This was the kind of, well, that's a Bathurst winner from last year, but the closest I could get my hands on. We've got a Grove car and we've got Tander's previous last Bathurst winner. Yeah, very, very exciting day. Yeah, how can you complain about that? Was a great race, a great result. Probably the only thing to complain about was that kind of 2016 situation where we had the car crossing the line first wasn't actually the winner because of a penalty coming down. What I find interesting about that one, though, is the last time it happened, which that was egregious last time, like 100% he deserved a penalty, whereas this time it was a little bit, yeah, I was not quite sure on that one. But yeah, last time I think it ended up going to court and everything to get that penalty overturned and all that kind of junk. And yeah, thank God sanity prevailed and the results stood in that. But this time it was probably more questionable whether there was a penalty. And yeah, I don't think we'll have court cases or, internet arguments for years and years and years. People still bring it up, about the one of Wincup's wins that got taken. Anyway, the big talking point before the race, that P word, I don't want to get into it. I know a lot of people are going to say how quick those Triple Eight cars were going. Oh, their straight line handling was unbelievable at the start of the race. I would just like to point out though, those guys crashed when it got wet. Were they too focused on, going fast in a straight line and not planned for the conditions later on in the day? Yeah, I just thought it was funny. My God. All the guys that were really fast at the start of the day ended up in the wall. Just saying. My other little point from the weekend, well, now after the weekend, my big takeaway from the weekend. We're looking towards the finals. I'll probably do a bit more on this next week. I prefer to focus on this race now, but I just want to make this point. Everyone was saying how the finals are going to be so unfair on Brock Feeney, and he's won the championship after all the sprints. He's that far ahead that he's just, it's not going to be fair in the finals if he doesn't win the championship. Well, Matt Payne is right up there with him now after the stunning endurance campaign where, Matt Payne and Garth Tander took out the Enduro Cup. Yeah, he's right up there with Brock Feeney in the points. Believe it or not, Matt Payne has basically caught Brock Feeney in the points. So if either of those two don't win the championship, is it going to be unfair on both of them now? Or, is it just unfair on Brock because of the system of the way it is? Now I'm going to do my typical run through the field, all the teams and how they did during the day. But instead of just running in reverse championship order like I normally do, I thought I'd do something a little bit fun this week and run through in reverse kind of how they did in the race order. So essentially the team's highest placed car puts them in the order for now. So obviously the team that did worst yesterday is Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Yeah, the day it started off so good for them. They were looking really strong and ended with, well, essentially a double DNF with engine failures. At least Chaz gave us some entertainment when his engine went kaput and turned down that lift back to the pits. Nope, I'm going to go and have a beer with some fans over there. Yeah, Chaz, you character. yeah, he ended up making it back to the pits and gave everyone a cuddle and whatever. Yeah, Woody's, at least after his, they got it back going again, and yeah, he bagged some points, got himself into the top 10 of the championship, so he makes the finals. But yeah, the whole day, what could have been from these guys? Yeah. Woody and Ojeda led the most laps. They were looking so strong in the wet there. They were very lucky when Woody kind of collected the wall with the rear wheel and buckled it. The safety car basically came out at the perfect timing, so they ended up pitting, didn't lose any time on that. But yeah, I suppose they used all their luck on that one and then had the engine failure. It was a tough watch. They would have been hard to beat without that issue. Next up, we have the favourites for the race, Dick Johnson Racing. So the sister team car, the 17, Tony D'Alberto, uncharacteristic, caught the wall there at the Forest Elbow. Yeah, very unlike him. I'm surprised more people don't do that there. The way that wall goes and how, close they are all day. Wasn't like they had a heap of pace anyway. They were just, well, who knows what would happen in the wet weather. But yeah, they were just kind of making up numbers, and yeah, at least the safety car came out, which it was an inconvenient time with the way where the stints were at that point. So it did put a little bit of spice into the race at that point. As for the favourites for the race, Kostecki Hazelwood going back to back and all that. They started off so well. Yeah, it was all going to plan other than some strategy things, and of course them having no speed down the straight. Yeah, so then Brody got himself kind of back in the pack as it started raining and into the back of Kai Allen. Yeah, anyway, it is what it is. Got a drive-through penalty for that one. Then they ran off during the day. Clutch issues, that failing alternator where they had to stop and get a battery. 18th at the end of the day was all they could show for having the quickest car up to race day, let's not say. And once the rain came down, were they the quickest? Had they set the car up right for conditions for the whole day? It didn't seem to. Anyway, if it hadn't rained, it would have been really interesting to see how the whole race had played out. But yeah, you play with the cards that you dealt, and yeah, they didn't play a great hand today. Next up, we've got the BJR B team, who yeah, they've actually moved into last position in the teams championship with their stunning results today. Having said that, Macaulay Jones, Jordan Boys, they were in this race. They're probably never going to win it or anything, but they were actually, they were competitive when they were in the race, kind of. Yeah, they found the wall. They did get back going. 16th at the end of the day was disappointing when they would have really, if they hadn't done that wall thing, I mean, yeah. What is it? If your auntie had balls, she'd be your uncle. That they were looking good. They could have been a top 5 car at the end of the day if it wasn't for that. They were really the only BJR car that looked like they were in the race. Of course, we'll get onto them, but Jaime popped up there at the end. But yeah, Macca and Jordan Boys were doing quite a reasonable job during the day. Evans and Smith, yeah. Other than when they finally whacked the wall and, yeah, took it back off the car and, ended their day, yeah, were they really in the race? It's just nothingness all weekend from them. Next up, we've got the first of the wild cards in 15th, which was the Matt Stone Racing one of Cam Crick and Aaron Seaton. They were the worst of the wild cards, but 15th, it's not bad. Yeah, okay, they stayed out of trouble. They did what they had to do. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see them a lot on the TV, which, that's good because it means that they weren't causing incidents or crashing into things, things like that. But also, there is 6 hours of the race, or yesterday would have been even longer with everything. I know there wasn't a lot of action in the old days, but they used to run through it at least, spend 30 seconds on each car in the field. It would be nice if we saw a bit more of that, especially the effort that these guys put into for these wildcards and things like that, at least giving the sponsors, a bit of their own dedicated time. Even if we just follow them for half a lap or something like that. Anyway, it's kind of good that we didn't get to see much of them, meaning they did a pretty reasonable job. But yeah, we didn't really get to see them, so it's a bit disappointing. Then next up, we have the Tickford wildcard, which pretty much the same thing. They finished 12th, just behind the other team cars from Tickford there. But we didn't really see much of them all day. So that means they stayed out of trouble and did a pretty reasonable job too. Now, for the Tickford main team, we need that meme thing with the thing pushing the stick and just pushing Randall. Come on, do something. 11th. They were there all day. Neither of them really excited anything all day. I mean, they started in the top 10 and they didn't, I don't recall them crashing into anything or doing anything, and they were 11th. There were cars that had a lot worse day that ended up in front of them. So, now you'll say they did beat, Waters, Winterbottom. But they were very competitive at the start. They looked like they were in the race. Frosty put the car in the wall, and I think they ended up losing a lap or two, which granted, you get the lucky dog thing and wave around and rah and all that. But yeah, they finished kind of line astern, and one car was beaten up and one wasn't. So yeah. Anyway, it's just so much promise, and yet here we are. Frosty, why'd you crash into the wall? The 888 wildcard. Now, Bates, try and bury it 2 laps in a row. Glad he gave up on doing that after the second time, unsuccessful. But 10th overall, and beat all of Tickford. So not a bad day, and 10th overall for a wildcard, pretty good. Blanchard Racing. I don't think I've talked about these guys this far up in a race review ever. So just add water and off they go. So in my preview, I think I said even if these guys have rocket ships all weekend, they've still got to beat the Walkinshaw cars because they share data and setups and all that kind of stuff. So essentially their best hope, even if they're in rocket ships, essentially was that they were going to be 3rd and 4th. Well, they were looking really good at various points during the day. Obviously not at the start, but my God, once there was a bit of precipitation around, like a light switch, and off those cars went. Courtney had been crashed into at the start, and the diffuser, and they put a couple of bits of tape underneath the car to try and stick down the but it's hanging down before you even, at least stick it up. Probably been better off trying to just rip the bloody thing off. Anyway, that didn't seem to matter in the wet. They were chugging. I thought we were going to have this dream result for Perkins and Courtney together. Their final race may not have been a win, but I was thinking, these guys are going to get on the podium. They were, looking quite good. Then Fairy Tale came to an end with a broken transaxle. It kind of looked like. Cameron and Best rewarded with 9th. Zach Best once again, an amazing job in the wet. There'll be lots of questions now. Why hasn't this guy got a main game ride, etc., etc.? Should he be taking the seat off Aaron Cameron? Probably not. But he did nothing to harm his reputation this weekend. Also, let's not forget this car was up in the air after tangling. I think they interlocked wheels with Macaulay Jones very early on in the race, but up in the air she was. Yeah, could have been very damaged, and yeah, ninth at the end of the day. Yeah, very, very good result for the Blanchards. The Brad Jones Racing A team. Yeah, Brad Vaughan. Couldn't even get it off the line. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah, okay. Transaxle issue. I had to giggle every time. They're like 20 odd laps behind, and then every safety car, we'll get the lucky dog thing, and off they go and get another lap back. And the first few times it happened, you're like, why are we bothering with this? And then it happened more and more during the day, and you're like, these guys are going to end up back on the lead lap. It didn't happen. They were the last of the finishers, down in 21st. I suppose at least they got to the finish in the end. Jaime and Fraser, they seem to be just nowhere all day. And then right at the end there, they just popped up and they're like, oh, we're kind of in the fight. And I thought, shit, these guys are going to get themselves on the podium, even though nothing all day. They did drop back at the end there. 7th in the end, not too bad, but yeah, that really they should have been higher. And Jaime painfully 3 points out of the finals, all the way down in 12th, but only 3 points between him and Kai Allen. That's got a sting. Triple Eight. Normally we talk about these guys at the top always, but anyway, straight line handling, no issue there in the dry. They use strategy to get to the front of the field. Their tyre life in those first couple of stints, they seem to start off a bit slow and then just like freight train it. Once other people seem to, as the fuel load came down, and yeah, their tyres just seemed to have the life in them. Would have been really interesting if it had stayed dry all day, and then where Kostecki and Hazelwood had obviously put a lot more fuel on, and they had short field to get them out in front, whether that would have, it was starting to kind of play back on those strategies. So that would have been interesting to see as the day unfolded. Obviously, yeah, when it got wet, both of them stacked. That's not normal for these guys. You know, it was both the main drivers that stacked the car. It wasn't even like you go, oh, you know, they're crappy co-drivers, Whincup and Pye, stacked the car. It was the main guys who were in the car all day, every day, that went and stacked them. So I can only assume that they went for too much of a dry setup and thought that the guys would be able to carry it in the wet, or maybe they didn't think it was going to be that wet. But yeah, in the end, it is what it is. They didn't win. They both got to the end, but a disappointing day overall for them. Couple of little, I was very surprised with the way Whincup defended Feeney with his crash, saying, oh, the other guys, they were on warm tyres and Feeney had gone out on cold tyres, and he crashed because other guys were on warm tyres and Feeney was on cold. I thought, well, the other guys went out with cold tyres and then warmed them up and didn't crash. While it's not much of a defence. Anyway, and Brown, under the tyre barrier. I've never seen a car drive under the tyre barrier and like rip the bonnet off, rip the rear wing off, and, you know, drive out from underneath the tyres. That was funny enough, but then the bonnet's flipped over or whatever, hanging on by one hinge that's knackered, and it pulls into the pits, and the mechanic gets it and kind of puts it in place like it's just going to clip in and, yep, send it. She'll be right. Don't worry about the rear wing that's non-existent on the back of the car. We'll just, yeah. Anyway, yeah, a little bit of humour there. Matt Stone Racing. So much promise today ended up in so much disappointment. Percat and Slade running really strong at the start of the day, and you'd imagine without that engine failure that these guys would have definitely been in the mix at the end of the day. As I said, I'm not sure setup-wise whether they had a bit more of a wet setup in the car, or were they set up for the dry conditions, and, you know, maybe they would have slid off and crashed like some of the others. But yeah, going off previous years and that, I would have expected these guys to definitely be in the fight without that engine failure. For Hill and McLeod, although we look at 5th as a great result for them, they did kind of go missing in the middle of the day. They got a 15-second penalty for McLeod, had a crash with, or a clash with Morris at the chase. I don't actually recall seeing a replay on that one. But yeah, they seem to go a bit more missing than, just that penalty. So I'm not quite sure. And then, yeah, they popped up at the end with everyone else's chaos rather than, I think, their actual speed. It would have been really interesting, as I said, to see with, Percat and Slade there at the end of the day, because they seem to have a bit more go in the race than, the Hill and McLeod car. Painful for Hill as well, like just missing out. He was 11th, same points as Jaime in the championship, I think because of the win that he gets the 11th rather than the 12th. But yeah, 3 points away from Kai Allen as well. That's got a sting. That would have been a really good thing to at least, get one car into the finals after, what was a bit of a disappointing Bathurst for them in the end. Erebus. Wow. Chico nearly went back to back. I'm happy to be proven wrong when, like at the start of the year, I thought Cooper was really going to struggle and tear up a lot of equipment and I figured we wouldn't see results out of him until next year. And I put my hand up. I've been wrong about that. Job Stewart, the perfect teammate for him. Amazing job all day. They could have been a Chico back-to-back. Other than that nudge from Golding right at the end. Even if it wasn't a win, it would have still been a podium for them without that nudge. They just... a great job overall all day. What else do you say? Just amazing from the two young blokes. Erebus was the only team starting both main drivers. The only other main driver actually was Courtney to start the race. I'm surprised a few more didn't, with where the rain was coming and things like that. Maybe offsetting the strat. Like I was a little bit surprised, Walkinshaws with the car's line astern, that they didn't go one way and one way. But yeah, Erebus was the only one that tried that. The 99 did seem to help their strategy with LeBrock. He didn't seem to move forward like Cooper could. It was funny, every time that Jared Hughes got into the car, it seemed to push forward and seemed to kind of be in touch with the Chico car. But then when Jack got in, for some reason it seemed to maybe not fall back, but it just seemed to stagnate. Whereas the Chico car didn't seem to matter which driver was in the car. But yeah, it's the Tyre Power one. It didn't seem to make any progress when Jack was in the car. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And it just didn't. And I would have expected that, if Hughesy can move the car forward, that then Jack would have been able to do the same thing. 14th in the end. Maybe there was some other stuff going on with it, but yeah, it didn't seem to have anything really go wrong. But yeah, they just didn't seem to have the pace. Totally overshadowed by, Cooper Murray and Job Stewart all day. Premier Air Racing. Well, as I said before, Jimmy crossed the line first, but 5-second penalty. Podium, which is really good, but another one today, what might have been. They didn't really seem to be anywhere until the heavens opened up, and then another one, a bit like a light switch. All of a sudden, the car came alive and off they went. Didn't matter if it was D. Russ or Jimmy behind the wheel, it was lit. So off they went. Once kind of Woody was out of contention, then they were probably the fastest car on the track, no matter which driver was in. And they should have been on the podium. Which they got it, but should it have been one or two steps higher. It was a tough call. I'd like to watch the replay about 30 more times just to, see everything. When it happened, I was a bit, yeah. Anyway, Richie and Nash, they were kind of nowhere all day. Nash had an early off and got stuck in the gravel. Once it was wet and Richie got in the car though, he was just carving up everyone. He'd come from P nowhere. He was all the way up to 6th. And the way I was tracking, you're like, okay, Richie, he's in this, but then all came unstuck at the cutting and kind of ripped both ends off the car and it was done and dusted. Team 18. All weekend, Anton led the way, well, except for the sessions when they were ripping sides or corners or stuff out of the car. But it all fell apart when it mattered, and Reynolds and Holdsworth just plugged away. They were there at the end. They nearly took the lead on the last lap. Like, they were in that fight. If they'd had a few more laps, or, maybe they'd had a little bit more pace at the start of the day and weren't coming from as far back or something, maybe it would have been a great win at Bathurst. But I do wonder if, now Team 18's got, their enduro monkey off the back and they can seem to have some more success in the future, because although, the Anton's car not quite going to plan today, maybe in the future, because they seem to have just had disaster after disaster in endurance races. But really, really good day for Reynolds and Holdsworth. They played the day correctly and they got the fruits at the end. Grove Racing. What a difference 24 hours can make. Friday qualifying. So 48 hours. They were battling the Blanchards to have the slowest Mustang. And then, they won the race. Garth Tander, 6 Bathurst wins now. Matt Payne, his first. Just, absolutely outstanding. Garth had made comments earlier on during the weekend about, focusing on race pace. And I do recall him saying something about they wanted to put a wet setup in the car on Thursday when he was going out. And he said, no. Just make changes that you can make during the day on the setup. We don't want to have I don't want to go out with a full wet setup and then have it really good then. But you realistically can't do that during the race. I suspect they may have had a bit more of a wet setup on it compared to some of the others, because in the dry they were kind of nowhere, and then it was pretty lit once the heavens opened up. It's a couple of days ago, I can't remember who it was in the comments, said don't write them off yet, and I was a bit like, well, they're not in the top 10 shootout. That's a long way to come back, but they did it. We had a bit of a heart in the mouth moment as Payne was going around the outside at the chase and ended up on the grass. And at that point, I thought it was nearly all over. But then obviously other people did their tangling and off they went. Not to say that, that was the only incident of the day. Like, there's lots of stories. Lowndes and Tander nearly got together down the main straight. Tander drove over the DJR shock that D'Alberto had speared across the track when he destroyed the number 17. They got through it all, though. They were there at the end. They had the pace. It all went well when it needed to, and they've taken out the biggest prize in Australian motorsport. As for the Kai Allen and Wood car, they didn't really seem to have pace. Granted, maybe once the heavens open up, they would have been in a similar boat to the number 100. But then, when Kosecki KO'd that car early on in the day, that his panel beating was not Great for its straight line handling, we'll just say that. They did end up at 8th. That did mean Kai got himself into the finals. So yeah, overall, I mean, they won the race and got Kai into the finals. So that was probably their aim at the start of the weekend, and they were the only ones to achieve it. So that's it for this week. Normal kind of programming will resume next week. I'm going to have a bit of a look at the finals then, and yeah, we'll do a preview of Gold Coast because that turns around very, very quickly now. Yeah, it's kind of bang, bang, bang at the end of the season, even though we have some big gaps earlier on in the year. The racing over the weekend, like that race was amazing. I thought the top 10 shootout was really good. The qualifying session was really good. Like, how close are all these things? If we ignore the big P word that everyone's kind of, well, certain people are screaming about, if we just take the race for what it was absolutely outstanding. It will be one to be remembered for a long time. Down in the comments, let me know what you thought about it. Am I just too excited because Garth Tander took out his 6th Bathurst, or yeah, was it actually a really, really good race? But anyway, until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.